Hi, welcome to Far From Perfect. I'm Beth Gianopulos, and Mike Gianopulos, the pastor at Project Re3, is my husband. Mike and I have been married now for almost 22 years, so we've had a lot of years together and a lot of shared experiences in ministry and in life. So when we thought about having me do some segments and talk to you about some of the experiences that I've had, we thought that the title Far From Perfect was probably about as good of a title as you could find to describe me. I've spent a lot of my life trying to be perfect in a lot of different areas of my life. I am a full-time professional. I work as a lawyer at a large academic medical center. So I spend a lot of time trying to be very detail-oriented, to give very good advice, and to be good at my job. And I enjoy my job, but I do put a lot of pressure on myself oftentimes to be perfect. I'm also a pastor's wife, and that is a role that is not easy to fill. From the days that I started dating Mike, even when he had talked about feeling called to ministry, I struggled, not because I didn't know if I wanted to marry him, but more because I didn't know if I was really cut out to be a pastor's wife. I didn't feel like I really fit the typical mold for that. I'm outgoing and love people. I love ministry. I love God. I love serving, but I'm also opinionated. I can be outspoken, stubborn. So I have some of the attributes that may not be what some people would consider perfect as a pastor's wife. And then, of course, when we had children, if there's anything that really reveals a mother's or a woman's imperfections, it's everything that you learned that you don't know, and all the things that you're afraid of when you have children, because you have these lives that are your responsibility. And suddenly the world is filled with advice about how you should feed your child and clothe your child and what type of car seat they should have and where they should go to school. And as they get older, you get more and more concerns about how much time should I allow them to be on electronic devices, and when do I let them have a social media account? And of course, everybody has an opinion, and so many people seem to have the 10 steps that will take you to being the perfect mom. And you feel like, well, if I do these things the perfect way as the perfect mother, I will end up with perfect children. And that's just not the way life works. I also value relationships. I have so many close friendships and close relationships with my family, and I value relationships so much. I've tried so many times to be perfect, but made so many mistakes over the course of my life. And I've struggled, like beating myself up, looking back, wishing I'd handled things in a different way, wishing that I'd been more mature, wishing that I could have been more loving or more selfless or just been better. And oftentimes I just find that I am very, very tired, because it's hard to try to be perfect at so many different things, and to feel like so often that you're not only not being perfect at those things, but maybe not even being very good at those things. I've often told friends and family that the hardest part about just any of these aspects of these titles that would describe me, whether you're referring to me as the pastor's wife or the lawyer or mom or the daughter or the friend, however you're describing me, the hardest part of all of that is to try so hard to be good at it, to want to be good, but then to feel like you're just not measuring up in any of those areas of your life. But the one thing I've started to learn as I've gone through life is that life truly is a journey, and it's not about being perfect. I think it's more about who we become along the way, who God has created us to be. And part of the issue with my trying to be perfect, to be the perfect lawyer or the perfect mom or the perfect pastor's wife, a lot of my issues have come about because I'm looking at some standards that other people have set. Sometimes they're even standards that I set for myself, but I have ideas of what the perfect lawyer would look like, the person that would never make mistakes and that would always say things the right way. I have ideas about the perfect pastor's wife. She would be the woman who is always volunteering and always there to love and nurture everyone in the congregation. She would be this calming presence. And so many times those ideas that I have are not who I am. Most people don't describe me as a calming presence. I'm full of energy and excitable and sometimes full of life, but just as I'm really full of life, I can also be full of all sorts of other emotions. And so I feel like I fall short there. And then with my children, I've struggled so much because I love them so much, and I want to be this amazing mother. I want to be that mom that you read about in a book or a magazine where the kids look back and just talk about how wonderful she was. But in day-to-day life, I feel like I turn out to be the mom sometimes that's yelling at the kids, or that's not very patient, or that isn't, fully engaged and living every moment to the fullest with them. But that's who I want to be. And I think that's the biggest struggle that I continue to have in my life. I have this idea of who I want to be, and then I have who I am. And how do I begin to sometimes maybe change what it looks like to be who I want to be, and then also to still strive to become that person that I want to be? How do those things come together? How do I move forward when I fail, but also how do I move forward when I feel like hurt or betrayed by other people? What do I do when things don't work out in ministry the way that I think they should? What do I do when I feel like God has forgotten me or isn't listening when I pray? What do I do when I have doubts as the pastor's wife and I don't even know what I believe anymore? What does that look like? And how do I even say all of these questions to you right now? Because in some ways, it just seems wrong to even say as a pastor's wife that you struggle with these things. I hope that as we share some time together moving forward, that we can explore some of these topics. We can explore what it means to be a good mom. What does it mean to do your best and to love your children, but to still be a person who makes mistakes, who models what it looks like to say, I messed up and I'm sorry? What does it mean to try to be a really good wife, but to still get frustrated in times in your marriage, and again, to make mistakes? What does that look like? How do you do that and still strive to be the person you want to be, but also give yourself some grace? What does it look like in the church to be the leader that you want to be, to serve in the way that you want to serve, but to also realize that sometimes you're just broken and that you're tired and you don't have a lot to give? What do you do when you're trying to balance all of these different competing interests and you're trying so hard to be perfect, but falling short? I hope that I can share some of the lessons that I've learned as I've struggled through these things. I hope that I can also share some encouragement. I've started writing a few years ago for a blog, and it was pwlawyermom.org. The PW was for pastor's wife, lawyer was because I'm a lawyer, and the mom is because I'm a mom. And I felt like all of those words together described parts of who I am, but those words also are just labels. They're not who I am. And I would like to explore with you how we become the unique, beautiful individuals that we are meant to be, and how we use these unique talents that God has given us to serve in a way that no one else can. So I hope that you will continue to join me as we explore this together, because if you, like me, feel like you're far from perfect, I think we'll have a lot in common, and I think we might have a lot that we could learn from one another.